everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're having an amazing day. I don't know why I said that, but I do hope you're having an amazing day. How are you? I hope you're doing well. It's crazy times, isn't it? Today, I'm going to be talking about bootlegs because is it a theatre-based channel without discussing bootlegs? No, it's not. Before we get started on that, show of the week is going to be Kiss Me Kate. Why is it Kiss Me Kate? Because I started learning So In Love from Kiss Me Kate yesterday, so it's in my head. Show of the week. It's quite a fun song. I do like Cole Porter. Cole Porter is he's cool. I like him. It is quite an old school musical, so if that's not your jam, totally understandable, but I'm selling this really well. Link in the description if you just want to listen to some Cole Porter, essentially. The reason I wanted to talk about bootlegs, apart from being a musical theatre channel, is because I feel like it's a really contentious topic. There are a lot of things in life, in just kind of my general life, where I'm very much, not so much like a black and white stance in that if you don't agree with me, you're wrong. Like, I respect everyone has different circumstances, but like for me personally, I'm very clear that, you know, I won't buy from this place or I won't give money to this organization. And with bootlegs, I feel like the waters are a lot more muddied for me. So that's why I want to talk about it, because I do think it's not a black and white issue. So before we get started, like, full disclosure, just so you know, I have watched bootlegs in the past. I think everyone who is involved in theatre at some point has watched a bootleg, whether it's an entire show or like looking for bits of things for research purposes. In fact, when I went to drama school, they more or less encouraged watching bootlegs. Not overtly, they weren't like, go and find bootlegs on YouTube and watch them, but they did say that we should be watching a musical every single week. And when you're a student with no access to funding because your course doesn't qualify for it, you have limited income. So obviously a lot of us ended up watching bootlegs of things because we couldn't afford to physically buy tickets to go see shows every week, you know? I've also in various contexts witnessed the filming of shows as an actor on stage, as an usher, as an audience member. I hate it. It's annoying. Gonna get into that later in the video. So yeah, so that's kind of where I was coming into this video as someone who has watched bootlegs in the past to various extents and who has seen and been annoyed by people filming in the auditorium, which is what you need to do to create a bootleg. The last thing I want to say is I am going to be talking a little bit about the legalities around why bootlegging, filming in auditoriums is wrong, just for people who don't know. But I am not a lawyer, I'm an actor on the internet, so yeah, don't take it as legal advice. I'm just a person, I'm not a lawyer, I don't know about the ins and outs of copyright law. So before we get into the arguments for and against watching bootlegs, first I'd like to just say that filming a piece of theatre, filming in the auditorium during a performance, is illegal. And it is illegal because it is an infringement of copyright law and an infringement of intellectual property, I believe. I'm not sure if that's the right legal wording, but basically you're stealing people's ideas. The reason copyright law is in place is to protect copyright holders from having their work stolen and from losing income from their intellectual property. Basically, it's so that people can't sell your stuff claiming it's their own, and people can't put your stuff out there for a cheaper price or for free compared to yours, so people will go to them instead for your stuff, right? So that's why it's there. It's to stop owners of intellectual property losing money. And where people, I think, are most familiar with copyright law and copyright infringement is films and music. So if you're a 90s kid, you probably remember, do you remember like on videos and DVDs where before the film they'd have that like PSA announcement.
Public service announcement. You're a bloody idiot, Michaela. Also, yes, I am wearing a onesie. It's flipping cold.
Where it was like, you wouldn't steal a car, you wouldn't steal a handbag, you wouldn't steal a DVD, and then it was like, video piracy is a crime, and you know, all of that stuff. Technically it is, but I think that most people, in my opinion, are kind of like, film companies make a shit ton of money. Like, who cares? It's not as simple as that, because, you know, organized criminals can be involved with these kind of things, and like you buying a you know, dodgy DVD can go towards human trafficking and stuff like that. But when it comes to things like illegal downloading or illegal streaming, before you had streaming services like Netflix, I think people were just like, well, it's a victimless crime and Sony's got tons of money, so they're not going to miss me not paying £10 for a DVD. You know what I mean? Similarly with music, again, before streaming services like Spotify and the other ones. Apple Music, is Apple Music one? Obviously, loads of people would illegally download music. I never did. I was so behind the times. People would like rip things off of the radio, like friends would make mixtapes for their other friends, technically illegal. The interesting thing, you tend to find that the big corporations were really anti this kind of behavior. So like Sony Music, Universal, all of the big film companies. But especially with music, the artists didn't care. Many artists have said this, that they don't care about their fans pirating their music, because for the artist, A, they're getting their music out there, and B, the illegal piracy is creating fans who, because they are fans of that artist or that band or whatever, will then save up to go to their gigs, will save up to go to concerts, will save up to buy the full album when it's out. Yes, it's a little bit of theft for now, but in the long run, it's creating fans who will then go on to spend money when they can. Fans of things don't want to rip the artists off. It's just that that was the way that they could access the music. Now, theatre is not the same as music, but I think those two stances kind of mesh together when it comes to bootlegs with theatre. I feel like theatre is kind of a middle ground between these two stances. But before we get on to pros and cons of bootlegs, I just want to say, obviously, filming is still illegal. If you film in a theatre, you are breaking the law and you can get a massive fine, so make of that what you will. So, with all of that preamble out of the way, sorry, I do love to preamble, here are some arguments that people might make for watching bootlegs online. So going back to why copyright law is there in the first place, it's to protect the earnings of people's intellectual property. You could make the argument that the companies themselves, the theatre company, the show, isn't actually losing money from ticket sales. And this is because the people who watch bootlegs would not be buying tickets anyway, because either the tickets are too expensive for them, the show that they're watching the bootleg for is in another country, so they can't physically get to the theatre to watch the show, or the show that they're watching is already closed. In those three cases, the people who are watching the bootleg were never going to buy a ticket anyway. So the company isn't losing money from those ticket sales because those ticket sales would have never happened. The second argument you can make is that bootlegs widen access to theatre. There are plenty of reasons why people don't find going to the theatre accessible, whether it's to do with their lifestyle, if they have certain disabilities that theatre doesn't cater for, if they have dependents that they can't leave, if they live really far away. A performance that is on the internet, on your laptop, you can access it at any time. You can access it from almost any place. You can pause it if you need to. You can change the volume. There are so many things you can do with a recording online to make it fit around your life and your needs that you can't do sitting in the dark in a theatre with loads and loads of people. The third reason, which is more from the viewpoint of theatre fans, is that it allows them to see performances that they would never be able to see, especially when it comes to things like cast changes. Seeing Lin-Manuel Miranda playing Hamilton or seeing Ben Platt play Evan Hansen. If those performers are no longer in that show, there is no way that fans of that actor or fans of the show who just want to see that particular performance would be able to see them performing that role. If there's a bootleg of them performing that role, it's not going to be the same as seeing it live, of course, but they get to see them do that role. And number 4, which is from an actor's perspective as to why we might watch bootlegs, is for research purposes. It is so much easier for research purposes if there is an online bootleg that we can watch for free, especially if you're being seen for a show. Maybe you're quite far into the recall process and you're like, I really need to see more and understand the show more in depth and maybe get an idea of my track, which you can't do just reading a synopsis off of Wikipedia. You need to kind of see the show. And if the show is a revival, so it isn't currently on, or if the show is just too expensive for you to go and watch, but there's a bootleg online, you're able to do that research. That is a really useful tool at our disposal should we choose to use it. Those are the arguments that you could make for. Here are the arguments that you can make against. Starting off, going back to the point of copyright law, which is to protect earnings, you could make the argument that the company actually is losing income from bootlegs, especially if those bootlegs are being put on a video hosting website like YouTube on channels that are monetized. If monetized channels that upload bootlegs decide to put ads on those videos, those channels are making money off of someone else's intellectual property, and the people who own that intellectual property aren't getting that. So they are losing income from particularly monetized channels putting up bootlegs. Reason number 2, which is where it starts getting morally dicey for me, is that you don't have the actor's permission to film them. For stage, actors are paid for the rehearsal period and the number of shows that they do. They are not given any payment for any kind of filmed aspect of the show. That will probably change post-COVID, I'll get onto that at the end. Whereas for something that is filmed, for example, a TV show, a commercial, a film, those are the 3 main ones, Michaela. Well done. There will be some kind of monetary stipulation within your contract, and that will either be a buyout, and that usually happens with things like commercials, or if it's not a buyout, it will be royalties. So every time we play this thing, you will get a cut, which is why it's great if you get into like big franchises, because it's like whenever that film is played, you get paid too. So basically, long story short, the actors should be being paid for any money made off them being recorded, and they're not being because it's not in their contract because they were filmed without permission. Reason number 3 is the safety of the actors, especially if those actors are children. Once anything is put on the internet, whoever posted it, whoever owns it, has very limited control over that content. Anyone could screen grab or download or screen capture that material and post it elsewhere. Now, obviously, this is very concerning when it comes to children in shows. I've heard really awful stories of things happening around children in West End shows, and that's even without them being filmed and that being put up online. Productions are so careful about the safety of children in shows. I can say as an usher who, you know, at the theatre where I worked, we had a show with children in it that's known as like a children's show. We had to be so on people taking photos and people recording because of the safety of the children. If someone is successful in filming a show with children in it and puts it on the internet, anyone can take the images of those children and do what they want with them. Now, obviously, theatre fans and probably the person filming the show is not seeing it in that way at all. They're just filming the show and, oh, these kids are such great performers and they're so cute, la la la. That doesn't mean those images cannot be taken out of context and put somewhere else. And once again, you don't have permission from those children's parents or guardians to film them. So you're putting those children in danger without their knowledge, and that is just abhorrent. Any bootleg of a show that involves children should not be out there, should not be on the internet. Children's safety on the internet is incredibly important, and I think there are a lot of people and a lot of adults who don't realize how much the safety of the children in their lives can be compromised by them posting seemingly innocent things. So that's the whole kids thing. But it's not just the children's safety, it's the adult safety as well. Again, the adults haven't given permission. There is stuff that could look very, very innocent within a show context, but taken out of context people could misconstrue it. For example, just making this up, I'm not taking this from a particular musical, but let's say there is a musical where there's a scene where a woman is in a French maid's outfit, for example, because she's a French maid. I don't know. Someone could take that footage and put it on FrenchMaidBabes.com. I don't know if that's a real website. Please don't Google it. But, you know, that could be put on that website for people who have a kink for French maids. That actress has not given her permission for her image to be on that website, yet it's there. That's not okay. That's not cool. Adults can be just as susceptible to the misconstruing of aspects of the show. But then also, there can be really sensitive scenes in shows that actors would not want to be filmed. There could be nudity, there could be people in their underwear, there could be simulated sex scenes. That can all happen on stage. This is going to sound a little bit like wanky and la-la, but as an actor and as performers, you kind of have an unwritten contract and a sense of trust with your audience. You guys are going to share this space and share this moment together, and we as actors are going to be vulnerable in service of telling this story for you, the audience. When you're filming that trust is immediately gone, especially when there are things like nudity, when there are things like simulated sex. That is very, very vulnerable for an actor to do in front of an auditorium of maybe thousands of people. I know that if I had to do a nude scene on stage, I wouldn't want it on the internet. I don't imagine that a lot of the things that are being bootlegged necessarily contain material like that, but like, I haven't watched it, but I know there's a Waitress bootleg on YouTube because it comes up in my recommended quite often. And I'm pretty sure in one of the songs, like, Lady Waitress is basically straddling Dr. Dude.
Also, just remembered this, in Heathers, the last chorus of Dead Girl Walking is JD and Veronica, like, literally having sex on stage. So, yeah. I don't know if there's a bootleg on that somewhere. I wouldn't be surprised if there is. Maybe don't put that on the internet, guys, without the actor's permission, because that's not great.
Obviously, you've got yourself in a place where you feel safe and comfortable doing that on stage with your company and with the audience there. That doesn't mean you want it on the internet for millions of people to watch you acting out having sex with someone. You know what I mean? It's a privacy thing. If we know that it's not okay to take a photo of someone without their permission or to film someone without their permission, like on the tube or on the bus or in the street, why is it okay when we're in a theatre? Do you see what I mean? That's where the morality of it comes in, far more than, oh, it's just some big producers losing money. It's like, no, you're filming people without their consent. Last 2 points, which are not as big as that, and are more to do with the filming aspect of it as well. Firstly, filming is just really, really distracting. I've mentioned it before, but it is so distracting. I hate it. Everyone can see you. The ushers can see you, the actors can see you, the audience can see you. If you're in the audience and I don't think most bootleggers do this because they know how to film discreetly, but if you're just your average Joe just being like, oh my god, it's my favourite song, filming something, me as an audience member, my eye is automatically drawn to your phone screen and I'm like, I don't want to watch some shitty tiny version of what's happening on stage. I want to watch what's happening on stage. As an usher, I know it's like our job, so I'm not going to go too much into this, but sometimes you just want an easy sit-in where you can just sit, watch the show, casually watch the audience and be ready just in case someone has a heart attack. And when we have to keep on coming up to you being like, can you turn off your phone? Can you not film? And then you're getting aggy with us, it just makes our day worse, so don't do it. And then again, as an actor, when you're on stage looking out into the audience and then all of a sudden you just see like the back of a phone and it's like, oh, well, that's just taking me out at the moment. Obviously you're a professional, so you get back into it, you're not that person, but it's annoying, so just don't film. And finally, the other thing, which I don't think most of the people who film care about this, when you're filming something, you're not in the moment in that room. You're either filming something like this, in which case you're watching what's going on stage through your screen, which immediately disconnects you from it. Or if you are like a proper bootlegger and you know how to film discreetly, you're concentrating on hiding your phone. And so you're distracted. And the whole point of theatre is all of these people in one room sharing a moment, sharing a time, sharing a space. And if you're filming, you're completely not doing that, which I just think is sad. And it kind of defeats the point of the whole thing. My opinion time. Boom. Don't know why I did that. So after all that, where does this leave us as a nation, as a people, as a society? Firstly, my opinion is don't film. When it comes to purely creating bootlegs, don't film in theatres. Don't do it. It's annoying. It's distracting. You don't have permission to do it. It's illegal. Don't film. Just don't do it. That's my opinion on that. When it comes to the thing has already been filmed, it's on the internet, it's available, it's there, I've got to admit I'm a little bit conflicted in some regards. Firstly, I'm gonna be honest, I don't really care about the loss of income for the big companies, because I am firmly of the belief that the people who watch bootlegs wouldn't be able to watch the actual show anyway. They're either going to be a customer in the future or they're never going to be a customer, so the company's not losing money. That's my personal opinion as to why people watch bootlegs, and I do think it does widen access. I do think that the pandemic has made it very clear to producers the benefits of online accessible content. For example, the National Theatre, they did their NT Live on YouTube thing where they'd show a show for a week for free and people could donate if they want to. And I honestly think that more producers are going to be having that as some part of their production process for live shows, whether that's live streaming, whether that's filming pro shots that they can post up as and when, whether they monetize that via donation or they sell cheaper online tickets and then the live show tickets are more expensive. I honestly think that's something that is going to become more of a norm, especially for larger companies that can afford the infrastructure to do that and to do that well. So I think accessibility is going to get better, kind of like with streaming services with music, for example. With the rise of more accessible ways to view theatre, bootlegging is going to fall off. Especially because the quality of bootlegs isn't that good because of, you know, people having to hide their phones. It's not good quality. Would you rather watch a crappy bootleg for free or pay £5 for a ticket and get something that is filmed at a good angle, you can see everything, maybe it's even a little bit edited if there's multiple camera angles like MT Live is? Which experience would you prefer? I think a lot of people would rather pay the £5 to get a clearer, better view of the stage show and have something that's closer to a kind of polished experience. I don't think it will get rid of bootlegs completely, especially when it comes to certain performances. However, I do think the privacy things are a real major issue, and I'd never thought about that before thinking about this video and being like, okay, what is the moral grounds with bootlegs? I just think that is a big problem. And I think for that reason, whilst I'll never say never, because I don't know what kind of circumstances I'll be in, like I might be in that being auditioned for something situation where I'm like, I just need to know what's happening in this show. I would never watch a bootleg for entertainment anymore, which I didn't think that was how this video was going to end, because when I talked through it before filming, I was like, I don't know. Having said that, I wouldn't judge anyone for watching bootlegs. Again, accessibility. So for example, if you were to watch, yeah, but you know, it's Disney Plus. If you don't want to give money to the mouse, I'm not going to blame you. Find someone who does want to give money to the mouse, I guess. Before Hamilton was on Disney Plus, I would not fault someone for watching the bootleg of Hamilton. I'm pretty sure there's a bootleg of Hamilton online. I've seen it pop up before. I would not blame someone or judge someone for watching the bootleg of Hamilton, because Hamilton is hella expensive. So it's like, if that's the only way you can see it and you want to see it, I'm not going to judge you for that. Now that Hamilton is on Disney Plus, I would say if you know someone with a Disney Plus account, or if you want to get the Disney Plus account yourself, I would say it's better to do that than watch the bootleg. You'll get a better experience. It will be a better filmed version of the production, and you know, you're not aiding and abetting an illegal practice, because that's the problem with bootlegs. It's a vicious cycle. People will bootleg if they know people are going to watch it, and people will watch bootlegs if they're available, and that's the cycle that we need to break, which is why I think if producers jump on making cheaper / free online versions of their shows for people to watch, I think that's going to be a positive step forward for theatre. I honestly hope that that is something that happens in the future to help make theatre more accessible in a way that doesn't break the law. That's kind of where I've ended up with this thing. So yeah, so that is what I think about bootlegs now. It's been a journey, this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing. Would love to have you on the channel. Stay tuned for more theatre content from a UK perspective, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye friends!